Charlie, he was so nice to me because he thought I was a donor kid. And the second time I met Charlie, he was kind of rude to me and a little bit arrogant and standoffish, and it personally hurt my feelings. And then I left Turning Point with kind of a bitterness towards the organization and towards Charlie. But after watching Charlie die, I became more proud to have worked at the organization because I stood for the same things that Charlie stood for.
All right, grace and peace, everybody. We're back. You saw the thumbnail, you saw the title. Let's talk about it. I'm not the biggest fan of discussing the inner workings of an organization with former employees. I'm not the biggest fan of it. But I do want to give this young lady an opportunity to tease it out. There have been a couple people who used to work for TPUSA that have come up and come forward and talked about their experiences. And I thought this young lady's story was interesting. I wanted to give you an opportunity to hear it. You may or may not have heard it, so let me bring it in. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. Let's go.
Worked for Charlie Kirk and for Turning Point USA as the donor communications liaison for about 6 months. The other day, an ex-coworker of mine went online and started bashing Turning Point, calling it evil and the people that work there evil. That didn't sit well with me. And so I'm gonna tell you the truth. The truth is I have every single reason in the world to be mad at Turning Point. They kind of screwed me over 3 different times. I have every reason to stand on TikTok and bash Turning Point, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell you the truth objectively as possible to my experience. The mission of Turning Point USA, in case you forgot, is to educate high school and college kids about conservative ideologies. Charlie Kirk was its founder, its CEO, and a public figure that had his own ties and relationships with other people not associated with the organization that helps to bring those conservative ideologies to high school and college campuses. I think the organization in a whole is disorganized and slightly dysfunctional. Nobody really knew what was going on. Granted, the time that I came in, there was a lot of changes being made, so I give them grace for that. But the organization is slightly dysfunctional, and that's just a fact. But nobody there is inherently evil. A lot of the people that work there and are in power there are in power for a reason. They want money, they want status, they want power. Turning Point was a great place to work your way up to that. That's why people were working there. And the people in power were harsh and they were strict and they had strict guidelines that a lot of people, when I had gotten there, started to slack on because the organization was changing. This person, who you guys probably seen the videos of her going around saying that Turning Point is evil, when the truth of the matter is they were just strict. They weren't evil. And people crack under strict pressure, and unfortunately she cracked. Now she has a personal vendetta against Turning Point and going online and saying that they're evil and that she agrees with Candace Owens. Now my opinion on Candace Owens varies. I hope and pray in her heart she is just doing what she thinks is best. But I don't know how you can sit there and call yourself Charlie Kirk's best friend and claim that you have the #1 podcast in the world and bash people that Charlie loved and who loved Charlie. I don't know many of the people that she mentions by name personally, so I won't talk about them. But I will talk about Mikey McCoy. I interact with Mikey 3, 4, maybe 5 times since I was working there. And every single time, he was kind and nice and intentional and smart and personable. And he remembers things about people and he cares for people and he cared about Charlie. When I heard that Charlie died, the second person I thought of was Mikey and how he was most likely there, which he was, watching his best friend and his boss be murdered. I have no reason to believe after working there, after personally knowing Mikey McCoy, that Mikey would have anything to do with his best friend and boss's death. And truthfully, I kind of find it appalling that somebody who claims that she's Charlie's best friend would go on to her #1 podcast in the world and bash people that loved Charlie. I get the desire. You as fans of Charlie want to know the truth. You want the deeper meaning. You want it. I get it. I personally was really interested in the Idaho murders because I went to school in Idaho and I got so invested in it and I started losing sleep about it because I wanted to know the truth. But the truth is that those kids unfortunately are dead, and the truth is Charlie unfortunately is dead. And maybe it's bigger than the shooter that we think it is. Maybe it's some deep state thing, but I firmly believe it has nothing to do with Mikey McCoy or the day-to-day people who run the operations at Turning Point USA. Part of my job was answering the phones, and I'd say more often than not, I got more hate calls than anything else. And the security guard that you guys saw doing those hand motions in front of Charlie, he was the person that kept me safe while I was doing my job. And another person that a lot of you guys are targeting online that I promise you is a good, kind person that you guys are attacking because you want to make a point, because you want to know more. And trust me, I understand that you want to understand what's going on. I get it. But you can't do that by attacking people who loved Charlie, like Mikey and like the security guard. Now, I only met Erica Kirk one time, and it was in passing, and she was with her kids, so it really doesn't count. But my first experience is what you guys are experiencing with her online, and I can understand where you guys are coming from, with her feeling cold and disconnected. But you have to remember, she just watched her husband be murdered. I want to give her a little bit of grace and a little bit of time. Turning Point is hers by Charlie's will. This is her company now. Now, I met Charlie twice. First time I met Charlie, he was so nice to me because he thought I was a donor kid. And the second time I met Charlie, he was kind of rude to me and a little bit arrogant and standoffish, and it personally hurt my feelings. And then I left Turning Point with kind of a bitterness towards the organization and towards Charlie. But after watching Charlie die, I became more proud to have worked at the organization because I stood for the same things that Charlie stood for, whether or not he was the nicest person in the world. I believe, and I still believe, in the mission of Turning Point, which is to educate young people about conservative values and to bring God and America back. I don't know the truth about who killed Charlie or who was or wasn't involved, but I can promise you that the day-to-day people loved Charlie. They loved Charlie, and I'm getting emotional because it's so hurtful to watch people that I care about be slandered on the internet by people that call themselves coworkers, that people that call themselves friends of Charlie and friends of myself and friends of the organization. People, your words hurt. I am not a detective. You are not a detective. Candace Owens isn't a detective. The only person that truly knows all the ins and outs of everything is God. So I'm gonna end this by saying, what do you believe in? Do you believe that conservative education and bringing America First values back into the public school systems is important? Then continue to support Turning Point USA. Tune out the noise and the lies that the organization is evil, because it's not. It's slightly disorganized, it's slightly dysfunctional, but so is every other company. Truthfully, this whole thing makes me sick. I couldn't go to Charlie's memorial because it just hurts. So just please give it a rest. Let Charlie rest. Let his legacy live on through conservative education, through Turning Point. Leave Mikey McCoy and the security guard alone. Stop helping to divide the conservative party by either supporting Candace or supporting Turning Point. Just love one another. Accept each other as just different individuals with different mindsets. Accept that people grieve differently. I obviously grieve differently than my ex-coworker who's posting negative videos, or the Mikey McCoy who had to be strong in that moment of shock. Please seek Jesus in this moment. Ask him what you should do, if you should give it a rest, if you should keep pursuing it. I have nothing to gain from this video. I actually have more to gain if I were to say negative things. So I hope you can understand this is my truth, my experience.
All right. Grace and peace, man. Young lady really crushed it. And I thought it was fair. I mean, she said, hey, he came across cold the second time I met him, and this, that, and the other. But I think she's coming from a place of authentic, genuine experience. She didn't give you all good, everything's sunshine and rainbows. She told you some things are bad and it's slightly dysfunctional. I can believe that. I mean, you got a whole bunch of young people running around. Of course, man, I can understand that it would be a little chaotic. That would make sense. But let me know what you think down below. In your comments, give me in the best comment section on the internet. Let me know what you think about this young lady. If you've seen the other people who've come forward and said they used to work at TPUSA, where do you land on that? And then also, of course, let me know what would you do this kind of stuff if you worked at if you had an opportunity to talk about your previous employer. I'd like to know what you think. Until next time, everybody, grace and peace. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the JWhit Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.